One of the things I want to make clear that I've said yesterday, and it seemed like I was teasing, and I was kind of sort of about the TP-Cast formulaic writing. No, you don't go and write formulaic like that. However, get out the sheet of paper, if you will, that has the TP-Cast on it. And I'm gonna add, yes ma'am. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't see you, darling. It's your IB paper 1. Now, if you think that I am insulting you about something that you've known since first grade, oh, you don't either. I want you to remember that I was not with you first through 11th grade instruction. I like teaching writing better than anything. But I don't know what you've had. So if you think I'm insulting you, please give me that I'm not. Okay. What always in your paper, I want you to write these 2 words above it, and you've had it forever. When you write your paper 1, you are going to answer 2 things. What's going on in this piece? What's it about? And that has many different levels. We're going to start with the paraphrasing. Look at the P. It's the second one, paraphrasing. I'm going to tell you I'm going to have you circle the ones that have to do with the what is it about. It's the TP at the top and the TT at the bottom. These have to do with content, subject matter, what's going on here. And remember, paraphrase is not summary. You're not going to tell the whole story again. You're just going to kind of zero in on what's going on. Now, everything in between the C through the SS is how. What is the author doing, and how does he or she do it? How does it make it effective? And then with the how, there's a little caveat underneath it. Why? He repeats the, let's say it's a he. I'm not going to get all gendery on you. Let's say it's a he. He repeats the words murder, murder. Oh, let's think about something. He repeats the words gentle, gentle, gentle. That's how that's the how. And then sometimes you want to go to the intention. Why? 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 Why does he choose the word gentle over kind or nice or motherly? That's another gendery thing, isn't it? Fatherly. Okay, so occasionally you're going to go into that to show why. That's all that you need to do. Do not start talking in the first paragraph, of course. I'm not going to tell you how to organize it, but don't start talking about allusions to Hitler and Mussolini when it's really about the death of a soldier. So get your what down, and then you can play around. This is the body of your paper. And if you're ever worried about when you're making your outline, stretch it in the middle. Stretch it like a girdle. Y'all are too young to know what girdles are, aren't you? Anyway, stretch it, stretch it, stretch it. Think of Spanx or something where you stretch it. So that's where you get the body of your paper. Now, I don't want, you all are great writers. How many essays have you written this year?
A lot.
Just in this class?
That's what you're talking to my heart right here. So when I say you're great writers, It seems almost like an insult for me to be sitting there and say, well, first of all, you gotta do this, yeah, we're out of third grade. We don't even have the word wall. But, so I'm not trying to insult you, this is a quick reflex. Yesterday, we talked about the, use of, quotes. And even though you're great writers, yesterday, this visiting professor would give you about a C plus in total on being intimate with the text, but I wanted you to feel a little insecure about that. I didn't tell Mr. Charlton to tell you I was going to do that because you have from now till Monday, or actually Tuesday, paper 2 is Tuesday. You do have these on different mornings, don't you? Paper 1 on Monday morning, paper 2 Tuesday. So some things haven't changed. Okay, I told you to use quotes, but one of the wonderful things about quotes to show intimacy is to show elliptical quotes, to use elliptical quotes. Do you all know what I mean when I'm saying elliptical? We can learn a new word. It's a geometry term, right? But it's also an English term. It's when you use part of a quote and you use 3 dots before it and 3 dots after it. Now, we're not gonna get all technical. If it's at the end of a sentence, you'll use 4 to show there was a period. Kind of, you can, if that makes you feel good. Yes, ma'am. It's like, I can't hear you, sweetie.
Do you use elliptical like on both ends?
Yeah.
On the quote, not in between.
If there's that's an excellent question. If it's in the middle of a sentence, yes. Okay. If it's not, if it's just at the end, you can just put like this to show that it's the end of it. I want you in a minute, we're gonna go through and do some exercises here, about when would you use elliptical quotes? Here's an example. When Martha is drunkenly referring to the state of her marriage, she says that she and George ... cry all the time ... and then pour their tears in the ice tray, period. You understand? Does that make sense to you? So that you don't, it's very awkward when you get, Martha says, : George and I cry all the time, then we put our tears in the ice tray. This other shows so much more command of the play and the book itself, and you're able to and show that you can incorporate it into your interpretation. So when do you use quotes? Usually the rule is 5 words or more. But see, you're not using secondary sources, so let's forget about that. Because we're not going to get into plagiarism, because none of you are taking any material in there with you, and are not. We've had 2 instances in my entire career here. Remember, we started IB in 92, or had our first testing in 92. Started at 90, testing in 92. We've had only 2 instances of cheating. And it's horrible. It's just horrible. And you don't want to do it, and you'll get caught. And he said, well, how could you cheat anyway? That's true. But let's say you took in a copy of Death of a Salesman or something. If you looked like you gained 10 pounds over the weekend or something, so you bring in something. Just don't do it. And also, which is, and this is the second time, I'm embarrassed that I'm bringing it up, but I'm bringing it up. You can make a list of all the quotes that might be important from the different plays, and you have it. So the most ingenious ways of copying things. Do it. Because I think next week, and you may know more about this than I do, Mr. Charlton, I think we're having an IB visit next week from some of the adjudicators who are going to come observe the testing. What?
Miss Goldman told us that.
She doesn't know what day, but she said they're
She
coming.
said she hopes it's not on the day that we have history and English on the same day.
Oh, I just. See, the, another way of, and I love Sharon Goldman, I told you one of my thrills was hiring Sharon Goldman, this cute little newly married wife, just newly married to Mark Goldman, all those years, 1977, I believe. Cute thing. I'm so proud of him. Anyway, the key another way of looking at it is I want them to come. I want them to come because if it's a good show, ooh, and they're not looking at how well you perform, your scores. They don't know your scores. Those won't come until, Borneo, 2 months later. But they're gonna look at how it's run, and I want them to feel like that you're getting a fair shot. Okay, any other questions about paper one, because I'm through with that? Okay. One final, since I haven't read any of your essays, this may be extraneous information. Do not overwrite. What does it mean, overwrite? When you're talking about things like symbolism, don't ever use the word deeper meaning, symbolism, blah, blah, blah. Don't ever use those. But it's sometimes you've gone this far, oh, it's wonderful. Your ripple has gone out this far. Don't invent something more out here. Don't say, really, when you get down to it, what the poem is about is the search for peace on earth. No, it's really about difficulty of relationships. You may want to push it that way, but don't overread it and write something so that you'll find it more profound. Okay, now I want you to get out the exam papers that I gave you yesterday. This is paper 2. We went with drama A and B. I wanted you to look at poetry 2. This one comes from this is one of the earlier ones, 1993, I believe. I may be wrong, but let's say 1993. Look at the poetry first question. Drawing on specific poems you've read, say in what ways gender seems to be important to poets. All right. If you get one like that this year, I'll buy breakfast for every one of you the day after the test. Gender was not an issue in 1993. They're not, I just don't think they'll go in there. All right. And remember, you're going to get a lot of prompts, but you have to use the one for the plays. Okay. Let's look at the back, please, the back of the paper. Okay. Does everybody have a back of the paper? Does everybody need one? All right, let's look at A. What do you learn about a culture from reading works other than novels and short stories? How is this knowledge imaginatively presented in the works you have read? Okay, look at your 4 plays. Virginia Woolf, Death of a Salesman, Hamlet, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. What did Rosencrantz and Guildenstern reveal about a culture?
They try to please the people above them.
They try to what?
Like please the people
Please above them. They're sycophants, yeah. We have a term for that, 4-letter words I'm not going to use, but starts with S. But yes, they are. They're they're the epitome of it. And people have even been called, are you really going to be RNG on that? Are you going to treat me like RNG? Please, you don't need to do that. That is how the culture. All right. It's the cult. They try to please the people above them. And I'm going to be sarcastic here. So what? What does that mean? Please people above them. So what? What does that reveal about their culture? Yesterday, you all knew more about Rosencrantz and Guildenstern than any other play. But that doesn't mean it'll fit with every prompt that you get. Now let's go to Hamlet. What is, in fact, I'm gonna go around the room. Y'all aren't gonna talk to me unless I call on you and put you on the spot. Okay. When I was teaching, I always had a rule, I never allowed hands to go up, and I always called on everybody in the room 3 times during the period. They had no idea what it was going to be. So if I'm treating you, I'm putting you on the spot, it's just the way I do things. You can just not invite me back. You can just go ahead and graduate and leave me behind. Okay. I won't start over here, because y'all are shaking too much. Okay, let's start with you, Mr. Talton. Just give me one play and how it deals with culture. Not this Talton, this Talton. The older Talton, the more sophisticated Talton. I need that. Everybody be ready now. Okay. How do you deal with culture in this play?
Specifically Hamlet? What is that?
You can go to any of the 4. I'll be nice to you.
Oh, thank you. It's too broad.
I didn't
Okay.
write the question,
I know, yeah.
but it still hurt.
I'd go with, I mean, I could say something like with Virginia Woolf, if you look at the relationships at play, specifically the dynamics between the males and the females, you could look at that as a representation of the culture at the time.
What time?
I don't know specifically who year, but no, you could look at that. I'd probably use that
All right,
reference.
can you, is everybody in this room have sufficient self-esteem? Because it's not my job to take it away from you, nor do I want to, but I want to prep you. Say what you said again.
I would use the relationships in Virginia Woolf to get a sense of the culture at the time.
Culture of the time.
It's like,
Adams is circling that phrase, circle of the time, and saying, be specific, vague, too general. You got this from Wikipedia. And you can take this, can't you? Because I guarantee you nobody else would have said anything wrong. So what is the culture? Nick, what's the culture in Virginia Woolf?
I don't like this, but again,
I'm gonna give everybody 30 seconds to write down something that you would describe as the culture in Virginia Woolf. Mr. Talton, thank you for being the guinea pig. Pigs came with something to the slaughter and all that stuff. Huh? Oh, I thought you had that, darling. You mean I didn't give you paper too? Huh? It's terrible. I'll be back. Okay, are we ready? And let's just see what all of you come up with. And you're not allowed to, well, I think what she said. I was gonna say the same thing. No. Ready?
I said that culture in Virginia Woolf is I guess it shows like dishonesty, like lies, deceit.
The culture of dishonesty. I'm gonna circle that and say be more specific.
Oh, I was gonna say like it's for the culture to talk about how there's a contrast between like traditional values of how marriage should be and then about like the eccentric marriage between George and Martha.
She's talking about the culture of marriage, the institution of marriage, that it's a look at the institution of marriage, okay? That would work for you. There are a lot of different ways you can go with that. All right, that way, I'm gonna say that again. What's the first word you gave me? Dissatisfaction, the culture of dissatisfaction with life. Mary's gonna circle that and say, can we be a little more specific? That's everything except what's dead. All right, that's everything in known to man except what, and not known to man except what's dead. I want to circle that, yes. It sounds profound.
I said for culture, inclusion for the Virginia that identifies with each character.
All right, culture is each character. I'm gonna circle that, but I'm just gonna put an X there. Y'all, is your self-esteem okay now? Because I want it to be. Only people with self-esteem can take criticism. When you ask somebody, can you take criticism? Yes, I can take it. And you criticize. Oh! All right, no, yes.
Kind of putting, I know you said, not what they said,
That's
not
all right,
what they
go
said,
ahead.
but with the, dissatisfaction and, dishonesty, it's also because they're dissatisfied, they try to fit into social norms, to make themselves feel better about themselves.
It's the culture. You're almost there. It's not one answer. It's a culture of how we sustain our own lives when we don't feel very good about ourselves. We'll go over here now. They've been.
I would say that the culture in the spread of Virginia Wolf is dictated by human relationships and more importantly, like the relation between how many humans interact and how they interact with art.
How they interact with what?
With art.
Art.
Like how art affects their interactions and how they interact with art. Like the dancing, when they're dancing.
What you've chosen is what he's just chosen would work. But it's gonna have to be a very long paper because when he narrows it, it's the culture of art and how human beings react to it, and he would develop it. But that's a narrow focus, but he has identified the culture. Does that make sense to you all? And you're gonna be praying for him when he's finished about 2 paragraphs and have anything more to say. But it's all right, okay, because you could do that. Yes, ma'am.
I was on American culture, and I guess during the time period, there was a lot of infidelity and like using like the alcohol in there to like as like an escape.
Stop right there. She said it's the culture of American society coping through alcohol and infidelity. You can write a lot on that. Okay, stop just a minute there. I'll get to it, just a minute. Stop just there. Okay, the infidelity. Oh, we want to talk about that, don't we? Oh, the infidelity in American culture. Now let's talk about the other plays. Is there a way of using that same concept of coping with empty lives through alcohol and infidelity in Hamlet, in Death of a Salesman? It's not exactly musical beds, but you do have in Hamlet quite some beds are used quite often. Okay, and then you've got, and you definitely have it as the one. I think it's one of Humble B.O.B. I think it's one of the turning points in Death of a Salesman. Okay, yes, ma'am.
I said they like put on this facade that everything's okay even whenever their marriage is really broken, but they don't want it to seem that way from like the outside looking in. But then they turn to like finding their joy in avoiding the tasks that like they need to know that they really need to address by drinking and going off with other people.
And that would be how they would deal with that. But go back to what she said was, it's the culture. I'm going to use a word you didn't use, but it's, I think of denial. But go back and read your first phrase that you said to me.
Putting on a facade that they.
The facade. It's the culture of using a facade to cover up, and you can finish the sentence for yourself. Oh my God. Look what you could go to town with all the place there. Maybe Rosencrantz and Guildenstern even. Okay.
I said it's the culture of men being like expected to be confident and pursue careers in an aggressive manner.
Okay. And that's a way of using gender in a very in an okay way, not saying me too. Okay, it's not that, but it's not that I think you say me too like that, but it's but you could also about women are expected to be gentle and that's the stereotypes, but especially men, Nick. And yes.
I put a culture where wives can be verbally abusive to their husbands and socially
Oh. And honey, is honey verbally abusive?
the way, like the way.
Yes, thank you. And even though she doesn't, bray like Martha, that's a wonderful word, bray, but she is just by not sleeping with her. She gets a headache every night. Okay, can't stand for him to come near her. All right, yeah.
I put something similar to Tatiana, like how men are kind of like the head, the representation of the family. So him not having a better job is feels like a lot of resentment from Martha.
And daddy's in charge.
Yeah.
Daddy's in charge.
Okay.
It's curly locks. I love your hair.
They kind of have a culture of having something to gain. So with Martha and George, she has his possible position of power in taking over her dad's position to gain. And then even though he may not want to, Nick marries Honey because he has a baby to gain from that. So like they all just have something to gain.
Okay, and your idea when you're saying it verbally is a little fuzzy, but so is everybody's, even mine. But you would you'd make it coherent, but you're onto something there. Yes.
I said I was going to the culture of pursuing the oldest American dream because George was to assume Martha's father's position.
Yes. And then you would do a little explanation of what you think is the American dream. Not what Mary Adams says is the American dream. Okay. Yes, that you could go far with that.
I was gonna talk about women, like the gym roles, but I guess I could talk about how, how Nick married Honey and how usually when you make a mistake, oh, she got pregnant, then I would stay with her. And the same with Martha and George and how he was supposed to follow the footsteps of his dad, and then he failed in doing so. And then that's why Martha was like kind of like embarrassing George.
Okay. Okay. So how are you going, and you're going, again, work that into a succinct statement. Yes. They took all yours, right? Oh, it always happens.
Well, I had one about the marriage, and then I had another one about Kelly Cooper's, like the reliance on like alcohol, and then like coping mechanisms.
The rely on alcohol. That's a cultural thing, and Martha's speech at the beginning of Act 3 is golden for getting the words out. Have you thought of anything else?
I did.
Yes, let's hear.
For Hamlet,
Okay.
the View of Women, because they have
It's what?
The View of Women.
Okay.
It's they have Gertrude and Ophelia.
Mm-hmm.
They both take roles where they only do things for the men. So Ophelia is distraught and eventually commits suicide because Hamlet takes off. Gertrude tends not to take that role till the end, where she drinks the goblet and such with the poison for Hamlet again. And then you also have the the aspect.
Ah,
of
the
Gertrude.
drink, that's right. Go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. And then you also have the aspect with Gertrude where she's just this liar and she's incestuous and it's like, oh, women that way. Like it's
All
a
right.
bad thing.
Do you see how, even though this isn't a question about gender, you can work in what you know? Now, none of you said this, and it's not, you haven't been there. It tells, the culture in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf is the academic culture, how to get ahead. I've taught at 2 universities. And it is, you have to get tenure, you have to publish. I know what that's like. And so, but you wouldn't know that because you haven't been to college yet, but you'll find that out. Okay, now, what is the, what about who's, I know what I wanted to ask you next, because you're gonna get something like this. Look at, I want you to look at, B, 5B. It's a little ambiguous. Read it carefully and see how you interpret it. Realism is as contrived a way of writing as any of the methods of writing against which it is defined. You may be reading pieces of literature and you'll say, well, that's just not realistic. Have you ever said that? That wouldn't happen. That's not realistic. Well, to make something realistic, this statement is saying it's contrived. Of the 4 plays that you have studied, which is the more and which is the, put them on a scale. 1 being the most realistic, 4 being the least. Just rank them. Write it down. Okay, I'm gonna go around again. You're gonna say, number 1, what's your most realistic? Virginia Woolf. That's the salesman. Hamlet. Virginia Woolf.
Oh, Virginia Woolf.
Either one.
I said that.
I'm just-
Virginia Woolf.
Okay, nobody said Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead.
It's my second.
Did you put, how many of you put Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead as number 4? What'd you put as number 4? Hamlet is number 4. Okay. Now, let me, I'm gonna play devil's advocate. I think maybe Death of a Salesman got it a little bit more than others. Is it really realistic to have Ben showing up here and there? But what is realistic is that influences from our past affect our subconscious. And Ben is the foil. You know that term, don't you? Charlie's a foil too. But Ben is the foil that says, the jungle is dark but full of diamonds. And he's the guilt example in Willie's mind, that suggest, oh, Willie, how you screwed up. All you wanted to do was make that payment on the car that he crashes. So all of us have you know, subconscious deal. If I were to go around right now, just like the stream of consciousness, and this is something Mary's not gonna do, I'm cruel, but I'm not this bad, and say, what is it you're fantasizing about right now? Getting the heck out of your way, Miss Adams. Or what I'm gonna eat for lunch. Or how tired I am. How tired I am. Okay, so that's realistic that we all have, that we have things going on in our mind that we don't, that aren't real, perhaps. Whatever. Okay, now let's talk about realism. Who was number 2 as I bet you, did you kind of reverse Virginia Woolf? And now, Virginia Woolf. And I say, oh, that's the most realistic. Yeah, sure, we all have made up children. Is that it? Yeah, the kid, hey, watch out, there's a porcupine there. Don't have a wreck. There's a lot of Virginia Woolf. And at the end of, when we're reading Virginia Woolf, there's a time in the play when every student always had to read it out loud in groups because I wanted them anyway, it's just how I do things. And when they get to that point, well, huh? Was there, Miss Adams, was there a kid? Or what happened here? So it's this. So is that realistic that we make up things, but we all have vicarious dreams for our children? So there are ways of explaining around that. Hamlet. Tell me one thing that's realistic about Hamlet, or it's contrived realism probably. One of the things, I'm going to answer it for you because we're running out of time in a minute. But if you look at the statistics of children at Temple High School, and it was my job to do that for a long time. How many children deal with having step parents? Lots of them. And so Hamlet's antagonism to Claudius, he liked his real father. He doesn't want this new father. Compared, he was a Hyperion to a satyr. My father was Hyperion. And this is satyr. So that's that's realistic. Okay, and his attitude. And what about Ophelia and Hamlet's affair? Now, did they consummate it? Yeah, probably. But so what? But it's, is it rare for teenagers to have a romantic relationship? I don't think so. That's realistic. And they're very passionate. And they're very emotional. So you can look at things of that sort. Now tell me, look through all of these different prompts right here. Look through. I'm going to start with on 4, you have, we haven't looked at B, put a check by B, 4B, 5A, and 5D. And tell me which one you'd rather get sick than write about. Which one of those is the most not threatening, but which is the one you would dislike the most to have on your question? how many of you, at least, this is least now, how many of you would least like to see 4B? Okay. How many of you would least like to see 5A? Oh, what's threatening about that? Narrative voice. Let's stop just there, just a minute. I love it when you, I think it's because you're not used to looking at a lot of terms. And so when you shy away from something, I don't know what a narrative voice is, or if I do, I mean, how do I know when it changes? The play, let's go Death of a Salesman. You have Death of a Salesman has a lot of instructions, directions to how to do the play. If you walk, remember when he's outside, it means it's from the past. When he steps back in, that means it's present time. And then Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf has lots of instructions. And sometimes the instructions, the writer's instructions, that's a narrative voice. When the author of Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf tells you what the scenery is like, and then it doesn't change, that's a narrative voice. Okay, let's look at how many of you would least like to write about C. Okay, 1 or 2 or 3. What about D? D. I think you just, that term maybe. All right, let's go. What's the one you pray for? Oh God, please let me have this question. I can write it in my sleep. All right, let's go back. I'm going to start with, I'm going to do 4, A, B, C, D, E, or C, D. All right, how many of you would most like to write about 4A? Especially after our discussion, right? How many would rather write about 4B? Good. See the world through the eyes of someone else. I love this question. How many of you'd rather write about 5A? Maybe it'll be popular next year. 5B. 5C. 5D. Okay. Now, you have a choice of 2. Tell me right now what you're the most concerned about, Monday or Tuesday, either one. What are you most concerned about over here?
Not being able to remember quotes.
But you have 2 days in here to do that for a workshop. Workshop, where the taxpayers are paying for you to have 2 days of class. It's a workshop to deal with quotes. And I'm one of the taxpayers. Running out of things to say.
Being too vague.
Being too vague.
I was gonna say like not being able to go deeper.
Okay.
Interpreting it the way that I think it is and not how it like really is.
Don't be afraid of that. Think of something else. You can find a way of it. Don't be apologetic. You're saying it could be that, or it might be that. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. Again, don't overread. It's not about going fishing at Lake Belton if we're talking about the Titanic or something, but,
Being too vague and
Hoping that
Did you what?
don't mix up any characters.
Mix up any characters, but you have 2 days to, you have a character sheet, but don't take it with you and take the test, all right, yeah.
Memorization of quotes.
Not remember you dealt with salesman too well.
You got 5 days. He never knew who he was.
Being able to effectively connect the two groups across the.
Uh-huh. All right, let me tell you what she just said. Not being able to connect the works. Stylistically, which is more sophisticated? Well, here's Virginia Woolf. Here's Death of a Salesman. Here's Hamlet. Therefore, I've discussed 3 plays. Or conceptual marriage relationships in Hamlet, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and Death of a Salesman. Personal escape things. You go for all 3 of them. Sometimes choose how you organize it. Sometimes it's better to combine all of them like this under concepts. Okay, sorry, I didn't. Who else? Where did we stop? Right here.
Reading two into the poem, but I did that last time.
Reading what?
Like interpreting a different way, because it's what I did last time when we did poetry commentary. Like I read it like too into it. I don't know. I forgot your comment.
Overreading. You were overreading. Read too much into it. Ms. Wade was talking about that. Again, you can. That's why perhaps it could be that. Okay.
Thinking that the question means one thing when it means another and not answering it.
All right, not answering the question. That's why restating the question in your own way is a way of taking control of, the question is asking blah, 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 or the, whatever it is. Make sure that you're in control. You may think you know what you're asking. This is what you're asking. And you're not gonna say it like that, but take control, grab it by the throat. It's mine. Okay.
Not being able to effectively present and support my argument within the time given.
Okay. Diction, just talk. When you have nothing more to say, you were talking about running out of things to say. When you run out of things to say, diction, word choice. It might be that you'll probably have 500 words in here, 300 or something. Just choose a word. By choosing the very word hunger, it suggests a need for whatever you're going to say. I can be as well as anybody, but just find when you think you've run out of things to say, talk about diction and details. I call it the double D, and it's not a bra size. It's just double D. Diction and details. Just pick. You see what I'm saying? And you may say, but that's not important. Make it important, darling, because it's all I know, so it's important. Okay. Yes. Go ahead. But you gotta work on it. You can even have a game show thing. Who said this and what's it from? You're not gonna pick, stupid things, but relevant things. Yes. Go ahead.
For me, I would say just being concerned.
What?
Being concerned in general.
Being concerned, caring. That's the test.
Quotes that are versatile in many different areas, not just like one specific topic.
Being too literal, I would, you know what? Sometimes that's better than being way too allegorical. Be literal and then go one step more. And but with the perhaps, with you, you're literal. See that circle up there? That's the literal.
All right, guys, if you borrowed a copy of this, Zion Bailey did it.
Thank you. I'll say good luck.